Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hey, are you looking to expand and grow your business? Are you looking for that edge, that next step up, that paradigm shift? Well, one of the best ways to get you there is through a mentor or a coach. And today's sponsor, Trevor McGregor, he is the man. He's going to get you to be laser focused, to get you onto that next level. And I know from experience dealing with Trevor, he is a master coach, peak performance coach, well over 10,000 coaching hours through clients all over the world. And he helps you achieve better health, more wealth and freedom and contribution than you ever thought possible. Have that coach that holds your feet to the fire. Go on to Trevor's website, coachwithtrevor.com. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. And there you can get a free strategy session with Trevor. And you can decide if he's the right fit for you and you're the right fit for him. Again, it's coachwithtrevor.com. You will not be disappointed. Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. And with me, I have a trio of VSM Real Estate. I have Goran Vejzovic.
How's it going?
Great. And I have Ryan Schroder.
Hey, Todd.
And last one is Dario Klasic.
Hello, everyone.
These three are, I think, just crushing it in our local market in the Twin Cities. They've got a ton of stuff going on. So I want them to talk a little bit about what they're doing, where they came from. So, Goran, why don't you lead us off? Tell us a little bit about your company.
Okay, yeah, I was going to actually kick it off to Ryan, but I just wanted to clarify. So myself and Ryan, we're the owners of VSM Real Estate. We do brokering, real estate investing, and then third-party property management. And Dario, he's the owner of Classic Property Services, where they maintain and build homes for others. However, us three form a conglomerate known as the Syndicate Companies, where we also build homes for ourselves and invest in real estate ourselves. And then I'm going to pass it off to Ryan, who's going to tell us a little bit more about VSM Real Estate.
Perfect.
Well, I don't know what to say that you didn't already say, but yes, third-party property management is how we got our start. Back in 2010, when Goran and I formed this company together, the market was just ripe for third-party property management. The market, real estate market, the stock market, everything was way down. We saw it as an opportunity to grow, and then shortly thereafter, we met Dario in the capacity of he was actually a prospective tenant at one of the buildings that we were managing, and it was kind of serendipity because he did construction management for another property management company and had been thinking about peeling off on his own. So the three of us started very shortly thereafter, quit our jobs and shared one desk about the size of the one that we're sitting at right now in the middle of a big room on 7th Street, and we all just put all our chips in and we're determined to make it work. So
cool.
That was 2011 and 12.
Well, that's more than what I said. So
yeah,
that was great sizzle to my steak.
So Dario, why don't you give us a little bit about then where you fit in?
So I moved here to Minnesota about 2009, and when I moved here, I didn't know if I was going to stay here or not, or if we were going to move back, but I ended up getting a job with a property management company here in Twin Cities and started a maintenance department for them that was taking care of the properties that they were managing. So once I kind of saw the demand of a maintenance company that was going to take care of the property management, take care of the tenants, and take care of the owners that own the properties, I kind of decided to go on my own and start a maintenance company here in Twin Cities. So I started out, my first customers were Ryan and Goran, and from there I just kind of started building and partnering up with different property management companies throughout. And now we have several departments. One of them's maintenance, another one's new construction, and then we have the rehab department.
Okay. So let's so everybody can understand, and so I understand what the whole kind of umbrella of you guys are. What's the vision? Like, what's the process of your company?
Well, collectively, our goal in the real estate side of things is to provide passive real estate investment solutions for investors. So people who are looking for the full service, full autonomy from their properties. So that starts with the VSM real estate side of things and our agents identifying prospective properties, doing the investment analysis on them, helping them with the acquisition, the financing, title, all that kind of stuff. And then the KPS side of things, getting their properties renovated, rent ready to pass all city compliance, things of that nature. Then kicking it back to the VSM side, where our leasing agents will procure tenants and do the ongoing management and eventually do the disposition. And then throughout the course of that ownership, the KPS side does the property maintenance. So that's the bread and butter of our business, especially the customer-facing side of it. But we have built that infrastructure with the idea that the three of us will build our own passive real estate portfolio within that. And so we are adapting to the market conditions as they change. In 2012, it was all about buying on contract for deed and assuming with no money down, and then that turned to more conventional property purchases. We started doing buying distressed properties and doing renovations and stripping our equity and using that to roll into the next project. That's kind of dried up. Now we're into the luxury home building side of things. So I expect that we'll be in a different part of real estate in a year from now as well. The only constant is change. But again, the three of us, our goal is to be well diversified and agile within the field of real estate.
Cool. So you guys are kind of full service from start to finish. And when you're talking about the stuff, now you're kind of doing the luxury home. I'm assuming you still have the property management that's still rolling, but just seeing little less acquisitions in the...
Well, so to put things in perspective, our intent was always to build fully functional autonomous companies. So, VSM Real Estate is a very labor-intensive company, so it took us a while to scale up in order to get the right infrastructure and also people where we can essentially kind of hand the keys off and make sure that it's self-sustaining. Same with Dario. Before we venture into other bigger and better things. And obviously, we're all entrepreneurs, so we're never going to be satisfied with one thing and doing that over and over again. Our goal is to perfect whatever company that we start in order to, get it going on its own. And hopefully we have cross-pollination between other companies that we start including and have a stake in. So that is our intent right now, where VSM Real Estate, just like Ryan said, is basically servicing a lot of the real estate or different real estate ventures that we're currently getting into. For example, like Nuvo Custom Homes, where it's a luxury home builder. They or VSM Real Estate is doing the management as far as getting the licenses, making sure the water's turned on. Dario's KPS property services company is doing all of the construction and the maintenance aspect of it. And then it comes back to VSM Real Estate, where we kick it into the brokerage department, and it's disposing of that real estate asset. But Syndicate Homes is owned by Syndicate Holdings, which in turn is the customer of those said companies.
Okay, so you guys are the acquisition side as well on these new luxury homes. You're buying the lot or buying the old house, knocking it down.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yep, that's right. So between the three of us, we are really just kind of all contributing our skills and time to this partnership in order to save money where we can and increase our margins.
Yeah, that's great. On the you talked about you're always constantly changing and growing,
evolving.
But you also said you don't want to go too fast. So how do you gauge that? What's too fast? How do you make sure you're taking care of your current customers and not leaving them behind?
Yep.
And then also still growing and evolving into the next thing that's gonna make sense for your business.
I'll just say one thing, and then I'm going to kick it off to Ryan to give you a little bit more depth and perspective, but it has to do with the dynamic of our partnership and how we're all different. So if you want to kick it off, Ryan.
Sure. So I would actually say that we've gotten better at a lot of the functions as we've grown, whereas everything had to channel through the three of us when we originally started, and we were only able to hire mostly friends and acquaintances to be employees when we first started out. Our company has grown, our reputation has grown. We'd been able to induce people on the KPS side from other competitors to his company to come over. We've been able to induce key employees from our competitors on the management side to come over and the brokerage side. So our goal was to take the culture that we have here, which is very entrepreneurial and free and respecting each other and family and all that kind of stuff, but then add the best of the bigger companies and the lessons that they've learned, the processes that they have, and marry the two together. So do we make mistakes from time to time? Are we perfect? Not as perfect as I'd like to be, but I do think that we've improved. I do think that our companies are all better than they were. We have that culmination of experience and knowledge. One of the big gauges for me in how we are doing is how much litigation we're subject to, and luckily that is way down. Knock on wood. And I think that the customer reviews that we have, the profitability of the company, all those things are all improving. So we feel pretty good about the trajectory that we're on, and because of that, we have been able to expand our horizons and start looking at other opportunities.
I wanted to also add, going back to what I said as far as the duality of our partnership, and a lot of people that are listening to, they may be questioning, okay, yeah, just like you said, Todd, as far as, okay, how are these other companies functioning? How involved are we? I think the fact that we kind of took this back seat to any personal agendas and we put forth the company and its people ahead of everything, we are able to scale quickly with better success, because there's not a kind of a one person, one man band or one person show in all of the companies. It's about the team effort, and I feel like having the team and the infrastructure is really creating the success that we need, and it's also helping us maintain it.
Having the right team is the most important part. You can always go out and hire people and bring them in, but some of those people may not be the right fit for what you need. And we kind of learned that in the beginning, that not having the right people in the right position can definitely hurt the business. And then the difference of hiring the right person for that position and how that can help you escalate and help you grow your business real fast.
So that leads me into my next question then. How do you find that right person? Because there's so many, growing companies want to find somebody, right? They need to find that first employee, then they need to find that second employee. So they need to figure out, how do they find the right people? Yeah. How did you guys go about doing that? And how do you continue to perfect it? Because I'm sure it's never perfect, right? You're always trying to become better. Absolutely. And get better people on your staff.
I think the answer is going to be different, or a little bit different for each of us. Ryan, do you want to kick it off?
Well, we've been fortunate enough to hire people that we've had interactions with. For example, somebody like who was a customer, or somebody who was a competitor that we had some involvement with. So we got to see them in their own native element, so to speak, and got to see their work ethic and their professionalism. I would say about over half of the people that we've hired, we've seen in that capacity. A few of them we did have to go to the open market, like for our accounting manager. We just did extensive interviews and things like that, but certainly there is risk, and you are rolling the dice every single time, but I think that your instincts improve for it every time you do it, and I also think that referrals and recommendations have been a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
Exactly what kind of Ryan alluded to. And I think, in the beginning, just like Dario said, there were mistakes made, and you try to learn from these mistakes. Also, kind of self-reflection to myself. For example, I always ask, okay, what am I doing to get the right people? And usually the answer is not enough, and you need to do something different. I think we all took an active role in self-learning and trying to get better, also talking to our mentors, hey, what should we be doing? So we all read kind of a couple key books, Scaling Up, Traction. Traction book was also recommended by a good mentor, and also our banking partner that we have with Bridgewater Bank, which is how they model their business. So a lot of it has to do with okay, what do we consider success in the market? How do we learn what they did and then apply to our business? So just from us doing the vlogs, the podcasts, it gives the public kind of a general knowledge of who we are as a company. So a lot of times we get referrals, or people listen or watch us, and they say, hey, this would be a company I would want to work for or interact with based on what I'm seeing. So we like to have people come to us without us reaching out to them, because they already know kind of what our baseline is, what our culture is. And then we just plug them into our system, which, again, going back to those books, Scaling Up and Traction, it's really about creating the systems and the processes where you can plug these people in with the right, culture, mindset, and let them, be the A players that we need in order to keep growing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like what you just said there, though. I mean, people know who you are because you guys are getting out there. You're doing the vlogs. You've got the podcast. You guys are constantly... You're on social media. You guys are constantly out there moving around, and people are comfortable with you. They see your company name. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you guys are crushing it in the industry. I would say you're one of the more progressive, growing companies, especially in the space that you're in.
Thank you.
So, and that helps. That helps bring people in that want to be part of this type of environment.
Yeah.
And that's really important. I think with small companies, it's all too easy just to kind of be focused solely on, making money, and be so fully just focusing on the little kind of industry or little spot that you're in, and not to think outside of the box and get your name out there and all that kind of stuff. So
which is what you have to do. I think to reference Scaling Up, not a paid endorser here, but there are a lot of small businesses that are just small businesses the entirety of their lifespan, right? There only few go from good to great. And then you kind of have to dive deeper into what makes those companies go from good to great. And being an owner-operator, myself and then Ryan and Dario, we all, for the majority of our startup, let's say 4 years, it was just about bringing money in, not realizing what's happening after, what we're going to be doing in order to change things around. Because it's not always, sometimes you have to take a step back in order to take a couple steps forward. And not many people will want to do that, because you're always thinking, hey, I need to create money in order to support my, lifestyle, or, because you're a small business owner. And that's kind of the number one thing you always think about is the money coming in. But you have to change your mentality. I feel like we have to change our mentality as far as, okay, what is important? Are we just here to make money, or are we here to grow into something bigger and better? So once we decided that we wanted to go into something bigger and better, we then, had to assess the situation from that perspective, and always have that in our, top goal is, okay, is whatever decision we're making, is it towards growth of the company, or is it towards just making the money? And sometimes the two align, but sometimes they don't, and you have to make the tough decisions.
Yeah.
So I know from my perspective, and also Ryan's, we had to take or not take pay in order for the company to grow.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, you're a small business owner, how many times have you done that? Or can you do that? Can you challenge yourself not to do that in order to take that step forward?
I think a part of it has to do lately as well with our growth in Goran's vision, specifically regarding social media. And we've kind of come into our own, especially with that. It's become a big part of our identity, and we exude that passion and knowledge and experience to the marketplace, and that's been a recruiting tool. It's been a marketing tool to gain customers, and it's really become a big part of our company's culture as well. That legitimate passion and interest in what we do, that freedom and the autonomy that we give to our key people, I think it's part of us now.
Yeah,
So.
cool.
I think as Goran and Ryan both mentioned, passion and growing and creating something bigger than just a small business and not always thinking about yourself. Those are some of the mistakes that a lot of small businesses make. They're thinking about them, their lifestyle, and making as much money as possible for them. I understand it was the same way for us in the beginning, but then we've reached a point where, hey, we love this stuff. We want to continue doing this. It's not really just about the money. So then we kind of took a back seat and we came last, and all of our employees and growing the company came first. Another big mistake that some smaller businesses make is they hire fast and fire slow, and you should definitely do the opposite. Take your time to find that right person. Don't just fill a position because you have to have somebody there.
Yeah, and that's a really tough thing to do. I mean, I've dealt with it myself with, bookkeeper, get a bad bookkeeper, and then you ask that bookkeeper to be done, and you're going, I got to find somebody quick. Like,
right.
Somebody's got to do the books. I'm not going to sit here and do the books every day. And so you want to hire quickly. So it's easy to make those quick decisions, and then again, it's easy to make the slow decisions. Same thing with like contractors or people that are, if you lose them, the project's not getting done.
Right.
So you hesitate, you wait, and then finally it snowballs and gets to be so bad that you have to, and you're in a bad position. So,
right.
Have you guys read the E-Myth?
Yeah, I read that probably 10 years ago, and I still have a copy of it in my house.
I have not.
So what you're talking about right now is, a lot about what the E-Myth talks about with the small businesses and then growing in that vision, and that's kind of where I was at too not too long ago, was just like you're looking at that, I just need to make some money for myself, and you're not thinking about what the true purpose of your business is oftentimes, and you kind of get stuck in that rut and not truly growing your business. Yeah, if you're making a couple extra bucks, great, but for me right now, it's, can I affect, how many people? My goal is I want to affect millions of people in a positive way through my business, and I'm sure you guys are there as well, it sounds like. And so that's what it's all about, is how many people can you truly affect. And once you realize that goal, the money's gonna flow.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the money can be secondary. I mean, everybody needs some money to live off of, sure. But if that's what your sole focus on, you're going to stay small. That's just what's going to happen.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. I think for the most part, a lot of people that I interact with, they know what to do. But then the action part is what kind of, hits 90%, and no one really takes the action. Or you always have okay, well, I'll do that next year. To me, it seems like we just started like 2 years ago, but it's going on to like 8. We're almost going to be at 10 years.
Wow.
So time moves quickly, and for you to know what to do without taking the moment or the action, the necessary steps to make that a reality, you're just wasting time. So the moment you realize you should just execute, right away or the next day, to make things happen. And like I said, it's easier said than done. But I think after some research, reading, and then also reaching out to other people that you consider successful or who you want to emulate, you'll find out that's really kind of the quote unquote the key.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I appreciate you guys talking about some of your philosophies and the challenges and where you started to where you're going, because that's kind of what this podcast is about. To how do we get there, and what's our vision looking like? So let's talk a little bit about some mistakes you guys have made throughout the years, whether it's specific to this business or led you into this business. Let's talk
how many hours is this podcast?
Yeah. No, let's keep it down to a couple mistakes. And how did you learn from them? And just specifically kind of what that mistake was, and where'd you go from there?
Oh, I know which one I want to talk about.
Perfect.
Yeah. Who do you want to kick off?
Go ahead, Ryan.
Sure. I would say one of the costliest mistakes we've had in terms of time and money was buying a piece of real estate through a quitclaim deed and not really understanding the full story of the chain of title and all of that kind of stuff. We got a referral from a now former client to a gentleman who was buying properties through tax forfeiture and other different kind of creative ways, and he came to us and said, hey, I got this deal. It was something that we thought we could make over $100,000 on, but we had, of course, execute immediately and put all this money down, and we sent the contract to our attorney for review, and he said, I see too many reasons for you not to do it. But the three of us looked at each other with dollar signs in our eyes and decided that we were going to push the chips in and go for it, only to find out later that we were overpromised and under-delivered on the representations and warranties made by the seller of this quitclaim deed. I think that the lesson that we learned there is that you don't need to take every deal, and you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself, because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of protection. So the adage of attorneys is it's better to spend money on transactional attorneys than litigation attorneys. That's something that we learned the hard way. And since then, we've tightened up contracts across the board. And we haven't, thankfully, again, we haven't had any litigation. So,
yeah. So listen to the attorney that told you he sees too many holes instead of you guys see $100,000 reason why you should do the deal.
And it goes to basically what if we apply the same, hey, is this deal going to grow our business tremendously, or is it just going to be a money play, right?
Yeah.
So if we had that beacon at that time, we maybe would have made the right decision. But at the same time, we made the mistake together, and we got out of it together.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll talk about the construction part of it. So
mistake-free business.
Yeah.
That's the most mistake-free business, I think.
So in the beginning, I kind of wanted to be the most affordable contractor to be able to get the most jobs that I can to build a business. And quickly, I learned that that is definitely not the way that I wanted to be represented, and that is not the not something that I wanted to do long term. So to be able to be a most affordable contractor, you have to hire some guys that are cheaper than regular guys out there. So with those guys making the mistakes, with owners not being happy with certain things, I still had to come in and pay for those mistakes, had to fix those mistakes. So in the end, looking back and kind of going through some of the things that I've went through in the beginning, I learned that hiring cheaper labor and hiring guys that are promising that they can do things for a lot less than they can was a big mistake. And then I changed that. I turned it around, got some great quality guys that are still with me. Some of the guys in the beginning still stayed with me. They were really good, and they learned and they adapted. And so hiring cheap labor was definitely a huge mistake in the construction field.
Yeah, I can speak to that.
I'm sure anybody that's been in this industry can speak to that somewhat.
Yeah, all too often. I mean, I have stories upon stories, but a lot of times the cheap contractor is the one that's gonna end up leaving you with a big bill or leaving you with
it's costing you the most.
Yeah, they just cost you the most. So.
Absolutely.
So I don't have any. No, I'm just kidding.
Never made a mistake.
I'm glad that they picked those specific examples. I'm gonna basically look more introspectively here and realize that I was the mistake. So I basically try to analyze myself, say, hey, what am I not doing, or what I could be doing better, and going back to the dynamic of our partnership. We're all different, and we all contribute differently to our businesses. So one of my biggest mistakes was always just thinking things will just work out without actually having any taking any action behind it. That's not to say that you can't think positively all the time. You can, but it's to my advantage or one's advantage to basically do anything you can to make sure those things will work out, not to pick up every deal, not to kind of overshoot, and then it hinders your growth. So a lot of it had to do with me making the decision. Okay, I'm gonna need to attend some seminars, some classes, self-learning. So I'm big into ebooks or books on Audible. So I always have one playing daily. I think I'm probably about 50 books this year. And I went to a couple different seminars, and a lot of it had to do with learning what I didn't know, but I needed in order to make the partnership better and then also make myself better. But what happens is the interesting part is typically when a partnership begins, that's your kind of the honeymoon stage, and then it slowly deteriorates. But for me, I feel like, and I hope it's the same for the other guys, that our partnership has actually gotten better because we took the time not just to better the business, but also better ourselves. Again, it has to do with constant learning. So, since Ryan was my first business partner, a lot of our early disagreements stemmed from me not having the knowledge to understand where he's coming from. So after, years later, our discussions, conversations, and things that we have to make decisions on are much easier because I'm now able to understand his role, his perspective, and then we're able to come to an agreement or a decision. So a lot of it has to do with kind of looking inward to see what I can do to be better for myself, for the business, and also my partners was kind of a big deal. And I don't think a lot of people do it, because how many times do you wake up in the morning and say, hey, you're the mistake, how do you fix yourself? Yeah. You're always looking outward, say, okay, what can I fix? Versus, saying, hey, I think I need to fix myself, or something within me is broken and I need to go out and see what's going on. So the result and the success of that really is, it's tenfold. It's empowering for you, but then I'm also hoping that it's empowering to my business partners to have somebody where before we used to argue problems out, now we're just talking through and welcoming each other's opinions in order to achieve the next level of clarity and to make a really sound business decision for everyone involved.
Awesome. Yeah. Wow, that was great. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
Because that's hard to realize, that you're making the mistakes sometimes, and that it's not necessarily other people that are making those mistakes. And it's so easy, I think, as a business partner to go, geez, I just wish Ryan would do this. I just wish, Dario would do this. I just, these guys would do this, our business would be that much better.
Yep.
And not, instead of going, what can I actually do to change what's going on in the business and learn and grow, and how can we all collaborate together? Because it's so easy to just stop collaborating with business partners and just, they do their thing, you do your thing, and you just hope it works.
Yeah, you just kind of pass the blame back and forth, which again, you're then putting yourself over what the goals are and what the dream and everything is for the entire operation. Yeah. And that's something you don't want to do. And if you're listening and you're wondering what I did, I think something that helped me a lot was pretty much every Tony Robbins book I read, all of his videos, and went to his seminar. That was a huge help in realizing a lot of things that I didn't know about myself. In order to be better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, always working on yourself, right? And that's really important, because if you're working on yourself, you're going to see a lot of those things that you're pointing out to make your whole company better.
That's right.
I think one key to the success of our partnership has been the fact that we all were willing to be a little bit more introspective and self-aware. And after a few years of being in a partnership together, there were definitely moments where we were strained. But the moment I feel like we all started to show a little bit more vulnerability to each other and just kind of honesty and stuff like that, and kind of like let down that I'm right and I've got the right ideas kind of thing down, and show respect, because once you give respect and you give trust, it's reciprocated. And I think that especially for the last couple of years, the partnership has been extraordinarily strong, to the point where we all consider each other brothers, and we know that we've got each other's best interests in mind. But like Goran said, that starts with looking at yourself first and not thinking that you always have the answers and that someone else is wrong. And having a partnership with 3 people sounds maybe intimidating to some folks out there listening, but we actually really enjoy it because there is a majority rules type of environment, and you may not like everything, but if you're overruled, then we ride or die as a partnership, as a team together. So
yeah. I think big thing making this work is we've never, even if we get into a situation like Ryan was talking about earlier regarding the property that we purchased, we never blamed each other for anything. We saw a problem, we saw an issue, and then we worked together to solve that. We're also, all of us are open-minded and welcome each other's, when we have an idea or anything like that, we want the other partner to challenge that idea just so that we can look at it from every single angle and figure out, is this really the right move for everybody?
Cool. Well, now that we've covered some mistakes, how about you guys tell us some successes? And I don't care if each of you talk or you're just one person, doesn't matter, however you want to cover it.
Ryan, you want to kick it off again?
Sure. So there was a pretty big hurdle that VSM Real Estate was facing at the beginning of this year. We were in a little bit of disarray financially because of the person who had been doing our accounting for years. They were not an accountant by trade, and we just kind of prevented dealing and facing that problem for a while. But eventually we just said, you know what, without financial clarity, and this is partly because Goran went to a Tony Robbins thing and understood that clarity on your finances is one of the single most important parts of success in a business. So we took on the monumental hurdle of not only letting this person who was our very first employee go and replacing them with somebody else with better knowledge and skills, but we had to scrap our books and we had to go back and redo them from the beginning of time. And we had to reconcile hundreds of thousands of transactions through multiple trust accounts, bank accounts, credit cards, and things like that. And I think the project took about 7 months. But what we found out in this process is we were able to identify areas where we were not charging enough or where we were losing money, how much mistakes were costing us. We've got better financial optics on how much money we were really making. We didn't have to make decisions on whether or not we could afford to do something based on our account balance. So we had to really strip it down and rebuild it from scratch, but I feel 100 times stronger now as a company for having done that. So
cool.
Yeah. So going back to, again, if you're listening and you're thinking that you could use the help, I highly recommend look up Keith Cunningham. He has a book and I believe a class called Keys to the Vault. And it's all about having financial clarity and having the optics in order to properly assess where you currently are at and where you need to be. Because without the information, you don't know where to go. It's just as simple as directions. I could tell you to go somewhere without me giving you directions. You can end up at a totally different place. And I think a lot of businesses now, knowing what I know now, they never make that leap from good to great because of the tough decisions that you have to make when it comes to finances. And this is, again, going back to introspectively, because not many people are going to want to say, hey, I'm doing poorly from a financial perspective. What do I need to do to fix it? They're just going to keep on rolling and assuming everything is right. But we took...
And they just don't know.
Right, they just don't know.
It's not a fun, sexy thing to pay somebody more money to deconstruct your entire business and rebuild it and take a lot of your time and mental resources to do it. But once it's done, you realize it is one of the best decisions you could possibly make.
Yeah. And I think a lot of business owners, they don't know, and then they don't want to dive deep into it because then they're going to find those mistakes and they don't want to deal with it. So if they're able to have enough money in the bank account where they can pay their bills, where they can pay people, they will continue to operate that way, not knowing and not having the clarity and not understanding what the issues are.
Yeah, it makes you that much better. Because I remember there were instances where we thought we made X amount of dollars and we didn't make that, or we didn't even, we broke even. So you did all this work just to break even. And again, it's I feel like putting that to light only makes you better for next time, because then you can tweak things in to actually to make it happen. If anyone has said that they've always made money in real estate, they're just lying, right?
Right.
Because there is no such person. You learn from your mistakes, and I think that has to do with knowing your true financials and diving deep into them, and not just saying, oh yeah, it just works, money's in the bank, it's all good.
Right.
Yeah, I've made money on every deal. Just don't look at the books.
Right.
Just don't dig.
Right.
No, I think that's fantastic, because, like you guys said, so many businesses go out there and they just doing business. They don't pay attention. They don't want to know.
Right.
Once you actually dig down deep, like you guys did, you find out a lot of places you can improve it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you get rid of that fear of just understanding that, look, this is only going to make your business better doing what you guys did. I mean, it was probably painful for you guys to, like you said, to fire this person that was your first employee. You got to go back for years and figure out what the heck is actually going on, get it done right. You're paying a ton of money to do all that, but in the end, it's made you guys a better company.
Right.
And it really took, like, would you say maybe 4 months or so of my time almost exclusively dealing with it. And so I wasn't able to focus on the growth or the revenue or the fun, interesting parts of the business because of this. But now I feel like a sense of relief having done it, and understand the importance now for other businesses that we go into and why we want to do things a certain way going into them from the very beginning, because doing something right from the beginning is a lot easier than having to fix things.
Yeah.
So we carry that experience from all of our business ventures into the next things that we do. And
yeah, it's interesting to see when we talk about it internally often, is that every single entity or business venture that we begin is that much better than the last one. And that's kind of the benefit of having those mistakes and working through those mistakes, is that next time you're going to be much better, and like Tom Brady says, he's not playing for this Super Bowl, he's playing for the next one, right? And that's something that what you always have to be doing is not focusing on the mistake that you may be about to make or the success that you're about to make today. You have to focus on the next one, how that's going to benefit, companies or whatever else you're starting down the road. So I think it was, a tremendous experience for us to go through the financial hurdles, but we took all of that knowledge and now segued into other businesses and other ventures outside of real estate, where we can, apply those same principles in order to get success.
Cool. So before we wrap up, I want to know where your company's going. Like, what's the future look like for you guys? Because I think it's going to be big. That's what I have a feeling. What is it?
Thank you. I see it. I see it just as I saw this moment 25 years ago. Maybe not as clear, but there was some haze. I see it now, except it's going to get exponentially better because you're bigger, stronger, faster, and I think this is kind of our decade between 30 and 40 to really make a big difference and improve not just what we have, but also move that into new, bigger, and better ventures. But Ryan, you were going to add something?
Yeah, so we see the future for the three of us as Syndicate Companies. So we don't see ourselves doing things on our own anymore. VSM Real Estate is a partnership between Goran and I, and Classic Property Services is wholly owned by Dario. Everything we plan to do together. I think that there's a huge interest on our part in identifying key partnerships, whether they be strategic partnerships or equity partnerships, to go into other businesses One that we're going into right now is in the transportation logistics business. We're very close. We've got a business under contract to purchase, and we're in the due diligence and kind of formation period of that. But we're going to be having a person who has experience in that industry being the president of that company. And we're going to be the owners, but we're going to implement everything we've learned over the years along with our capitalization and other things to that business. We're using this as our first kind of test subject as far as our ability to do this kind of a business acquisition. And if this works, then we of course hope that and plan for it to work. But if it does work, then we plan to expand into more industries, especially ones that we can either vertically integrate around what we're doing now, or we have some sort of cross-pollination between what we do and this other new entity. So that's kind of the future of our companies, is expanding laterally rather than trying to compete to become the biggest brokerage in the Twin Cities or to become the biggest construction company. We want diversification. We think that it gives us, it feeds our entrepreneurial spirit first and foremost, because we all want to keep doing new things, but also it gives us a hedge against changes in the economy, things like that. So
I think finding the right owner-operators and investing in them is definitely the future, and that's across board. So if you are an owner-operator out there, doesn't matter what business, please reach out to us and are struggling and wanting to grow, and we'd be more than happy to meet with you and sit down and try to see where some of those mistakes you're making and see how we can improve your business.
So you guys are wanting a company that you feel, or an industry that you feel can grow, and you're looking for an owner-operator that maybe they don't quite have the systems in place, the vision in place, and that kind of stuff. And you're gonna,
as well as finances and being bankable. And
they probably have, maybe the vision, or they are the essence of that organization or the company.
Yeah.
But they haven't taken that leap that we took, for example. Not, because, that could be a one-man show or one-woman show. They just didn't have the time. But we can kind of all capitalize on that by having this partnership where they still have a stake, but it's a smaller stake of a much bigger pie at the end. So you're taking them from a one-person company to a large company. You're taking them from whatever $500,000 in revenue to $5 million in revenue.
Correct. Yeah.
They're getting only a portion of that, but they're still getting more than the $500,000 in that instance.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Ryan mentioned is kind of our vision, our broad vision, and to say we only invest in this specific market, it's too early for us to determine, because we're, this logistics business is going to be our first big deal, which is going to be, over 7 figures. That is gonna, that already has required a lot of our time, and there's already had a lot of mistakes and issues that we had to work and rework, but it's going to be that much better, and we have a certain vision in place based on what the owner operator wants as well, so the visions are aligned, so there's a strategy from the beginning to an end, and like I said, I don't know what else we're going to go into or venture in, but all that is going to be kind of on the table. We would just basically want to have a conversation just like we are right now, to see if there's a motivation there. So similar to kind of like Shark Tank-ish, or that Show the Profit. But we like to kind of make it our own. So
cool. That sounds that actually sounds really fun and exciting. Something I would love doing as well. I've talked about that and I have maybe a little different, but I've talked about basically flipping businesses, taking a business, and I have never thought about the spin on keeping that current owner or president in. I think that's a really good idea. I always thought of it just buying that business and basically that owner maybe is an employee, but other than that, they're either out the door or you're just flipping that business.
Yeah, I mean, you want to have a certain sense of control, but I think looking at from buying and flipping it, what you have to realize, especially in a smaller business, so we're talking about $5 million or less in revenue per year, that there's a story behind it. There's a person behind it, who they are, the customers they interact with. It's not just as easy as like, okay, here.
It's not quite a house.
Yeah, you're the new owner. Everything is going to operate as it did prior to, because you see it all the time when people buy a restaurant or whatever else business and goes out of business after having been in business for 20 years. So there's that variable that most people don't consider, and that's one way for us to hedge our investment and our bet, is really to find out if this business has a strong sense of who they are and where the owner wants to go. We're just kind of the missing piece where we can plug in and make them better, make the business better, and obviously return a profit for us as well.
Well, and it kind of goes back to the E-Myth again, like I mentioned earlier. You've got a lot of business owners that are good. But they're the technician person. They get the industry. They're
in the business.
They're working for the business. They're the business employee, and you guys are trying to help them get that whole clear vision where we're creating a true large company, and we're going to make it profitable. And you don't have to necessarily be 100% in the business. You're growing it. That's the goal.
Yeah. I think a lot of small business owners, I've said this to myself: if I only had this, then this would happen. Or if I only let that be us, or we would be that ability to hire another sales team, hire a bookkeeper, get more of whatever else in order for you to scale up. A lot of people do know where they need to go, but like I said before, it's about the lack of action. We can go in there and execute, bring that to reality, and just take it from there.
Cool. Well, that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
The process has been fun. That's the most important part. I mean, I'll get up in the morning and I can't wait to get into the office, and that's definitely something that I want to continue doing.
That's a great problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is.
When every day you're looking forward to it, like I say, every day is a Saturday. It's so much fun when you're not, I remember as a kid, you're thinking Christmas is coming. You're excited for a month and a half, and you're like pulling the calendar thing down, and you're ready for Christmas to be here. And I can't remember the last time I thought about, even a cool trip that I'm going on or anything. I think about it like the day of. I'm like, we're going. I got to get, it's like.
That's the exciting part.
Yeah, and because you're so excited about every day that you're not thinking about the weekend. You're not thinking about like stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't have those TGIF or hump days, because every day is just
it's like that adage: if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And we're very fortunate that we all love what we do, and we're always looking to find mutual benefit in everything that we do. Between the partnerships and the relationships with the employees and potential future owner-operators, it's all about aligning goals and interest and mutual benefit and respect and all that kind of stuff. And I think it's something that's easy for people to buy into, and then they in turn feel the same way as us. I mean, I know that our employees like working here, and we have, I think, a great company morale. And again, it starts with our passion.
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because everybody wants to know, what business should I go into? You got to do what you love, right? But you guys don't necessarily, and maybe you do, you don't necessarily love logistics, or this new company you're looking at, but you love the idea of the building the company.
The process.
And the process. And so you don't necessarily have to love that particular industry. But
we love the role we'll have within it.
Yes, exactly.
For example, my role within this company is going to be largely on the formation and the legal and the financial part of it, and understanding that it's a decimal point game, and that's very interesting to me. I'm not going to be doing 90% of the work that's involved in it. There's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of other people involved, but I really enjoy the piece that I'm involved in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be putting in the order for the Tesla semi.
Yep.
And that's what I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you guys aren't baking the pie, you're building the business.
Right.
So, well, I think we got to wrap up here. Before, one last question I always like to ask is, let's get a book recommendation.
Oh, aside from all the other ones that I just
Aside
mentioned?
from the 12
Yes.
you've already recommended.
All right, so the latest one that I'm wrapping up is by Ray Dalio.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know who that is, you can Google him. His book is called Principles. He is the, I guess, the CEO or was he a CEO? He's the chairman of Bridgewater and Associates, which is a private equity firm. He's had around for about 30 to 40 years. And the book is basically his life, the 40 years of principles that he's acquired in order to run and make our organization what it is today. And, they manage like $300 billion. So it's probably something that you want to pick up if that's something you aspire to, which is what we aspire to as well. And the interesting thing is that this person, obviously super wealthy, he's narrating his own book. So he's there so you can listen in his own words and voice what he's talking about, which I appreciate because there's been other books who've just hired somebody to speak on their behalf, but he's like, you know what, I got the time, I lived through all this, it's going to be best conveyed if I actually do it, and it does. So I love it, highly recommend it. It's already like New York best time seller, all that stuff. So
Cool.
The most recent one that I read that was very impactful was Start With Why, Simon Sinek. And it was right in the time that we started this whole process of taking on the logistics company. And I really challenged myself to think about start with why. Why are we doing this? And we decided that we wanted to build a logistics company that was around the driver experience because the drivers are the key to everything. Their ability to drive safely, care for the equipment, care for the cargo, be accountable, punctual, all that kind of stuff. It's a highly competitive marketplace for them to come work with you, all that kind of stuff. So that was especially impactful, I thought. And it's not a grueling read either, and I think that it's philosophical enough that it's less about hard data than it is about kind of vision, bigger picture.
Yeah, cool. I've got that one sitting in my bookshelf. I have not opened it up yet.
Again,
you'll enjoy it.
If you're reading, it's great. Reading, you should never stop, obviously. But
for sure.
from time perspective, Audible just works for me, and I get to listen to it, which is why I'm able to consume so many books.
I think first, if you're a business owner, definitely read Start With Why. After that, pick up the Traction book. And then after that, I would definitely recommend the Southwest Airline Way. Because you're able to look at, they describe why and how Southwest as an airline has been profitable every single year, even with the economy, when the economy wasn't doing so well. And
in
what
the worst industry, too.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're the only airline that has been profitable every single year. And then when the other airlines were cutting out salaries, had a lot of unemployment and all that stuff, Southwest did not. They kept paying their people the wages that they've felt were fair, and they didn't cut any salaries or do any sort of unemployment stuff.
I've never heard of that one. So it's
Really?
the Southwest Way?
The Southwest Airline Way.
The Southwest Airline Way. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good book. So, and then just to add to that, we whatever book I get, I usually post it on my Instagram account or my social media and encourage others if they want to ask me questions. So I like to be collaborative about it because there's a certain sense of like if we see the same movie, the conversation is that much better about it, right? So that's what we try to do is all these books we've all read and have gone through, and we encourage everyone else within our organization and our customers to do the same thing. So when we have discussions, conversations, our mind is, it's around the same thing. It's much easier for us to proceed forward.
Yeah, cool. So if anybody's got any, real estate services they need, construction services they need, want to talk about a business that they want to grow and expand, or just want to talk to three awesome guys, how do they get in touch with you guys?
So for me, this is Goran. You can reach me directly. My information is available if you just Google my name, but Goran at vsmrealestate.com is an email I check every single day.
Okay.
My phone number, 612-242-5518, is there. It doesn't matter, because no matter how much I say, I'm not going to get an influx of so many people calling me and say, let's meet. The ones that I do, I get few a month, and I'm more than happy to make the time and make the accommodations. So, that's my contact info.
Cool.
This is Ryan Schroder, and I definitely would ask you to email me at ryan@vsmrealestate.com. Like Goran said, I check that constantly, and we can kick off a dialogue, and I'm always happy to meet in person as well.
Dario Klasic here. Please feel free to email me at dario@klasic propertyservices.com. Constantly on that email, so within a few hours you should be able to get a reply.
Well, great, guys. I appreciate it. All that will be in the show notes, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day. Talk really a lot about philosophy and how do you guys envision business, and going through a lot of those details. I think that was extremely helpful. A lot of great information that you guys gave, and also information on some of the mistakes you've made, and digging into your books and all that kind of stuff. So putting that out to the public, I think is really cool that you guys are just an open book like that. So
I think transparency was one of our pillars, and when we first started in our company, so we tried to just kind of have that as our guiding light. And now going back to Ray Dalio's book Principles, it's something that he basically has within his company. Most but not all of their key meetings are being recorded, especially if other people are mentioned that are not present. They would have availability to the notes, the audio and or video of that meeting, so that can be included and people can be challenged. So I believe, he calls it idea meritocracy is the way his company is run. So,
well, that's another golden nugget right there. If you're open to have your dialogue recorded, you're not going to be hiding anything, right? You're not going to be acting in a unethical manner, all that kind of stuff. Not that you would anyway, but I mean, it just, if you're open to letting other people hear it, you guys got nothing to hide. Right? You're just out there doing business, and that's really cool. So
thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
It was great.
Thank you.
I love doing podcasts like this on Monday because it just invigorates everybody involved.
Gets you ready to roll for the
That's
week,
right.
doesn't it?
That's right.
Cool.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Hey, a special thanks to Ryan, Goran, and Dario with Syndicate Companies for joining me and giving us a ton of valuable insights into their philosophies and thoughts and what they're doing in their business. Company that's doing a lot of great things, young group, and they are, like I said, they're really doing a lot of great things. So 3 key takeaways I took from the interview from them, and there was a lot more than this, but one is always be growing, reading, learning, going to different seminars like the Tony Robbins thing that Goran went to, and look within yourself. So this is a company with 3 people that are all owners. They're all kind of quote unquote in charge, and it's really easy to start butting heads. And even in a company where you're the only owner and you've got other employees, it's really easy to start pointing the finger at everybody else when mistakes happen and not looking within. And once you start looking within and figuring out what could I have done differently, how can we change this in the future? How can we grow this? How can we systematize this? How can we, do whatever needs to be done in order for us to be better? That's when things really start to happen and growth really starts to happen. So I really enjoy that advice. Always be improving yourself instead of trying to improve everybody else. So great advice there. The The next thing that they talked about was getting your finances right and making sure that you really understand what money you've got coming in and then what money you have actually going out, to make sure that is your business actually as profitable as what you think, and is your business profitable, period. So definitely something you need to really audit your own books. You need to look at what's happening in your business to make sure that your business is doing things right, and to be able to make the positive changes that you need to make. You know, with my apartment buildings, I want to know details. I want to know exactly what's being spent on what, because I want to know if we're spending a bunch of money on, let's say, furnace repair on the same furnaces over and over and over again, it might make more sense for me to replace it versus continue to repair it and limp the thing along, and it ends up costing me more money in the end. So we got to look at, all the little details and try to figure out what's the best way to reduce our costs and to improve our income. The last thing is, they talk about their vision and not worrying about making money, today, not worrying about what that money is coming in. I mean, we definitely need to think about that, but we also need to look into the future. And, Goran mentioned, the Tom Brady thing, where he's looking at not the Super Bowl this year, but how are they going to win the Super Bowl next year? Wayne Gretzky talks about, how is he so great? Well, he went where the puck was going to go, not where the puck was. And that's what you need to be looking at, is how do you get to where, things are going to be? How do you always continue to look forward and not look in the rearview mirror, and not just have your eyes down to the ground? So if you're going out for a run and you're staring at the ground, you're going to trip and fall. You got to look forward. And that's what you got to do in business as well. So great advice from those guys, and I appreciate them being on the show. A few housekeeping items. I'd love it if you can go onto our Facebook page, and we do our Hump Day Hustle every Wednesday. Send us some questions that you have. So go onto our Facebook page, just Pillars of Wealth Creation, and send us questions that you have. Also, I'd love it if you would go into iTunes or wherever you're listening and give us a rating and a review. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're thinking about the show. You can also, tell us on Facebook as well. Connect with us there. And make sure you share this out. Subscribe to the show. Share it out with your friends and family, and let other people know what we're doing. Hopefully we're bringing you great content, and we can bring others great content as well. So the more you can share, the more audience we can have, and the more people we can reach, which is great. I am Todd Dexheimer. I'm signing out. Remember, make every day a Saturday.
Are you on track to achieve your financial goals? Income-producing real estate is the most historically proven way to accumulate wealth and has created more financial freedom than any other means. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best turnkey cash flow rental properties. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly income. Get your free strategy session with our knowledgeable investment counselors at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.